The greenhouse gas emissions of the oil sands has been a controversial topic for a long, long time. And it's going to be controversial again because with President-elect Biden coming into power in a month, and he's promised to kill the Keystone XL project because of high emissions in the oil sands, it's going to be on the front pages again. And just, good timing. A new study has come out that's been funded by Alberta Innovates, which is the provincial agency, about GHG intensities in bitumen and in dilbit. So we're going to talk to John Zhou, who's with Alberta Innovates. Welcome to the interview, John.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very technical study. So maybe if you could give us an overview of the study in a non-technical language.
Sure, yeah. But before doing that, I just want to clarify Alberta Innovates funded this project with Emissions Reduction Alberta. So two organizations actually co-funded this project. So the study is really looking three existing pathways in the oil sand and two emerging technologies. So altogether, five pathways we're looking at. Those five pathways, three existing technologies include dilbit production from CAGD operation. So this is the mega energies Christine Lake. We use that as an example. The second one is coal mining mining dilbit. So that is surface mining. You extract the bitumen and you produce diluted bitumen. The third one is SCO. That's CNRL's Horizon project, synthetic crude oil. The surface mining use naphthatic frost treatment. So it's a more conventional SCO production. So those are three existing technology pathways. And two new technologies, one is actually in use already, which is mega energies EM-SAGP, essentially using natural gas to assist the steam to produce bitumen. The second new technology is solvent assistant SAGD, so SA-SAGD, that's Imperial Oil's technology. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got three existing technologies and two new technologies, and the industry's been working on these technologies for years. And if I understand this correctly, John, the comparison to this 2018 study that everybody quotes, which has Canadian oil carbon intensity at the fourth highest in the world. So compared to that study, these results are, I think they were like 9 to 14%, something like that, lower than that study. And then the study concluded that with the new technologies, there is another, up to 35% reduction that's potentially available?
No, actually, those numbers are actually with those three existing technologies, we can have 14 to 35% reduction. And with the new technologies, you will be able to bring another 14 to 19% more reduction. Okay, so I needed to give you a bit more background. The magnetic paper 2018 you cited actually is done by the same group of people from Stanford and from University of Calgary and the University of Toronto. So those are the best experts actually in the world, right? So, and the model we used are the same as well. It's an OPG model developed from Stanford. So we use the same model as that study. The only difference is the magnetic paper 2018 assumes certain parameters, input parameters, which is genetic in nature. But in this study, we're using on-ground real operation parameters specific to Alberta. So this is why it resulted in those difference, 14 to 35% of difference.
Okay, good to know. Now, one of the things that came up in the paper, I think is widely known that the biggest source of higher greenhouse gas emissions for oil sands is the use of natural gas to create steam, which then is used in both mining and in particularly though in SAGD. And one of the issues that has arisen lately is that there is an underreporting, it appears, in Alberta natural gas methane emissions. And if that is in fact true, so for instance, the 2018 Canadian Energy Research Institute found that Alberta's methane emissions are 6 to 7 times that of BC. And then another study came out this year that said that those numbers are probably only 50%. They're actually underreported by a factor of 2. How does those numbers get figured into this model?
Yeah, so certainly there is a certain level of uncertainty there, right? So the biggest difference, for instance, in the magnetic paper, they used a US average GHG emission related to the natural gas production. And in our study, we use again Western Canadian natural gas GHG intensity number. So there are those differences, and this is one of the areas the studies also indicate need more work. So there is room for improvement. And in fact, we are looking into this right now. So there is certainly room improvement to make those numbers more more solid. So
fair game, and studies like this always point that out, as they should, right? I mean,
yes.
They're not exhaustive studies.
Yeah.
There's always more work to be done.
Yeah.
John, in terms of the new technology, and I have to say, Energy Media has been a big supporter over the years of the innovation that's going on in the oil sands industry and the technology they're developing to bring down these emissions. But our one consistent criticism has been the pace of innovation and the pace of implementation. So does this study have any implications for the pace of, actually putting these new technologies to work?
I hope so, and I hope it will be positive. And this study actually is the 2 new technologies we're talking about. Those solvent assisted in situ recovery technology are really the first generation of the technology. There are second and third generation doesn't work. In fact, there are companies are implementing the second generation of the solvent technology already right now. One company is actually in production, another company is in the full-scale testing. So I think this really point the potential of these new technologies, and hopefully we'll give oil and companies more incentive to accelerate these technologies.
The final question I have for you, John, is the applicability of these numbers to generalize across the industry. You'll remember that last year, Kevin Byrne, the economist at IHS Markit, came out with his very, very comprehensive GHG emission study. And one of the things he pointed to was the high variability across the industry. So at the low end, you had 37 kilograms of CO2 equivalent per barrel, very efficient, below the US national average for a barrel of crude oil. But then at the high end, you had 200 kilograms, which is very, very carbon intensive. And so, and the average was 77 kilograms, which is still quite high on an average basis. So what lessons can we draw from this industry? Or let me rephrase that. Can we apply the lessons from your study to the industry at large, or is that one of the areas that needs more research?
Well, I mean, so I hope it shows, these studies we put out or focused on in this study really represent above average performance, right? So I think as a new technology get implemented, the bar will raise the high and high. Hopefully, the laggers will catch up, and also, hopefully, will give the government a solid tool. Say, there are those companies that actually can perform at this level, and then encourage the less well-performed companies to do better.
John, thank you very much. Really appreciate that, and we'll look forward to that next study and see what the results are. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm.